Hi, thank you so much for being here. I'm Veronica. I'm the founder of Hey, and yes, thank you, and thank you all the guests here. Thank you so much for accepting the invitation. My team that we came from Barcelona last Sunday, and my team is Claudia, project manager of Hey, and Anne, she's the host. And a lot of people that they are still in Barcelona. And a special thanks for our partner, Automattic. You are here, and we are here because of them. Vanessa, she organized everything here, so all the details. Also, Tino is here, so all the small details, they thought about that. And Pablo is not here, but he was the person that, the first contact I had to start talking about the collaboration. And for me, it's very important, this event, because it's the first time we do this live Women at Work outside Spain and in New York. Wow. And also, I think it's very important that companies like Automattic support small projects like that. It's not small, with a lot of potential. We are just 5 people working, but when a company like Automattic helps us, means that we can arrive to more and more people, and this is important. And at the end, I just want to say that we are here to celebrate the power of female creativity, because always have been, always. Maybe not the spotlight, but I think it's important because we are equally and the same power that all together. And hope this event inspire you and to create other things, maybe meet some people around, and hope you can meet you another time, maybe New York, another country, I don't know. Thank you so much. Thank you.
I'm obsessed with my timer. Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Women at Work on Tour, New York City. This is so exciting to say this. Oh my God. My name is Anne Guerra, and I am the host of Women at Work. I want to introduce the project a little bit to all of you that might not be familiar with it yet. This project started back in 2020, the horrific year. Veronica, she is the head of Hey, which is one of the few female-led studios in Europe, Barcelona-based. And she has this thought, like rummaging, thinking about how can it be that design schools are filled with female students, but then when you go into the professional environment, that doesn't correlate. You don't see as many women in any kind of positions, power and beginning. How can it be that is it so difficult to find female role models in books, in universities? So it is true, like some years ago, finding female faces, names in design awards, juries, studio boards, and all kinds of books and mentions in academia, it was very difficult. So she decided to do something about that. And she called me for that day. And on the 5th of March, 2020, we did a live event, perfect timing. We did a live event at the Hey shop in Barcelona. If you ever go there, please visit. It's a great place. So we did a live event, and it was successful because we found out that many women were thinking the same. And we had this thought, right? And then, of course, a week later, the world exploded and we were locked in our homes for like 3 months. So that's how later on we were like doing live events, what's kind of complicated back then. So she was like, Veronica was like, why don't we do a podcast? And I was like, of course, why don't we do a podcast? Like, I love radio. I've done radio for a long time. And that's how Women at Work was born. That was the first season. We were a bit like insecure, and we didn't know how many people would support our project and would like our project. So we stayed quite local, and we interviewed female professionals that were around our around Hey, our friends. And that was the Spanish season. If any of you, many people in New York speak Spanish, so maybe more of you speak Spanish and can listen to that one. The second season was a mix between Spanish and English, and then the third one we will full English. And now we just finished the fourth season. So you can find all of them at Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Pocket Casts. And we've interviewed amazing women like Gail Bigler, we've got Paula Scher, Busy Williams, Lisa Eneves, Rebecca Arce, we've got Gail Anderson, Debbie Millman, Lulu Ragavan. We've got amazing women that shared experiences about their lives, about their creative views, about their professional careers. And they've become those role models that we've been looking for a long time, because there was this space and because there was this opportunity for them to be able to explain what they've been living, experiencing in the creative profession. So it's been a great trip so far, and thanks so much to Automattic for believing and for supporting us and being part of making the design environment much more open, much more inclusive. Because I think, as Veronica very well said, like, we are small, like in the vast environment of podcasts, this is very little. But then again, we're trying to do something big, really big. And we're definitely trying to do something that will change how young female design students see the design practice. And having Automattic back us up and support us with their amazing attention to detail and determination and hard work is just a dream. Like, being here is a dream. Like, we would have never imagined this 4 years ago. But that is me talking. We've got 3 amazing guests today. So I will let them talk, because this is the important part of the talk. So yeah, let me introduce our amazing guests. We've got Alison Gragnano, we've got Karla Cole, and Beatriz Lozano. Big cheer for that. So I will start with Karla Cole. You are a product designer and brand lead on the browser company, but before that, you worked on all the big names, Instagram and Facebook and the New York Times and Big Spaceship. You are a BCU BFA graduate and a published artist, and you merge creativity, the arts, and technology. So welcome, Karla. Thank you very much for being here. In your case, becoming a creative professional was a decision. You had a wow moment, or were you one of those creative kids that you just have it in front of you?
I think I was a creative kid. Mm-hmm. And I probably honestly didn't have the words to articulate that at a really young age, but it's like one of those things where, like, it just felt like home. You know, you're doing it and you're enjoying it. I think art in general was one of those things where I would fail and I wanted to do it over again and keep trying and just keep getting better and stuff like that. So, and I've just been following that vibe, like, my whole career, I guess, and my whole life. I just love being creative and to create and make things. So it's just deeply ingrained in who I am.
And it worked.
It worked out. It worked out. Yeah.
Perfect. Alison Gragnano, thank you very much for being here. You are the Executive Creative Director at the New School in Parsons, and you have an amazing career. You've worked for all the big names like Saatchi and Saatchi and Ogilvy. Thank you so much. From your perspective, what does it make a person a successful creative professional? Meaning successful, meaning happy and fulfilled. What key features do you need to become successful in the creative environment?
I think it's how you work with other people. And I think it's like finding those people whose brain you kind of connect with and whose heart you connect with. And I think it's all about people. It's all about collaboration. I mean, there's nothing that you do as a designer or a creative person by yourself. So if you can find the people whose brain you want to be in a dark room with, whose heart you kind of trust, that's the key to the whole thing, I think. And smelling out right away who's not that person, and avoiding them.
Yeah. I like that, definitely. And last but not least, we've got Beatriz Lozano. In fact, we actually interviewed Beatriz this January, and so you can find the interview on the platforms I mentioned before. Thank you very much. It's great to have you live because we did it on a computer. So yeah, thank you very much for being here.
Of course. No, thank you. Thank you to the entire Hey team for making this possible.
Just like Karla, you mix technology and the arts. And first you went into engineering. You nearly become an engineer. So what do you think about technology when you first went into the tech world? And what do you think about it now? How do you think time has affected your vision of technology?
Yeah, I mean, I think when I was in engineering, learning how to code, that was mandatory. And then when they made that shift to design, it actually took me a few years before I could even see that connection. And there were years where I simply wasn't incorporating any creative coding or augmented reality. So it definitely took me some time to see that connection and the powerful bond between tech and design. And I also think it's important to just let it happen naturally and not try to force it in all of our work. Like when it's the right project or the right time, we'll know which tools to use.
Perfect. In fact, this question was like the cue to introduce the topic today, because we were thinking back in Barcelona, we were like, what can we talk about? And there was this questions that keep popping up in different conversations, and we've been talking about this, right? Which is like, in this day and age when we have all these algorithms and this AI and all this environment in which authorship of works and design, it's a bit like questioned, and you never know which thing is real but made with AI, and how algorithm affects our creativity and our attention span, which is a big topic. These are questions that many young creatives are now wondering, and as you are the ones with the wisdom and the careers, it would be great to listen to your thoughts on that. So always speaking on your own experience and your own thoughts, like how do you feel social media and AI has affected, and with affect I mean positively or negatively, your own creativity and your perception of the creative practice? This is a huge question, I know that. No problem. You can just answer whatever you want and then please just intervene. Yeah.
Okay, I'll jump in.
Please.
So, I mean, my background, I did work at Facebook and Instagram, and I started there in 2016, around the time that Facebook was introducing stories, and Instagram was also introducing stories as a feature that came from Snapchat. And I remember at that time, I was like, this is amazing. This is like groundbreaking. Like,
And it
this
was.
is it. I mean, it was, yeah, it was, it's the thing that I guess keeps people going back. And now being on the outside, I realize the impact that those features and the algorithm and just, you know, Facebook and Instagram in general have had on us as a whole, but also the younger generation. I have practiced my own restraint now in posting there. I don't really even share my children there anymore. But that I say that to say I love, like, so many of the people that I work with there, but I do think it is very hard now, and I think that we have to, especially now, you know, figure out ways that we can just, you know, find legitimacy in all of this, you know, like I guess it's a good thing that they're tagging AI and saying that this photo was made with AI, you know, whatnot. Like, I do think it's important to call out things that were altered versus things that are true to form. So yeah, it's a tough one for me because I don't want to, like, come at it from a negative way, because I you know, I know there's a lot of amazing people that work at those companies that are building those features. But also am very aware of the impact that it has had on us as a society. And I think that we definitely, like have a lot of work to do
Yeah.
when it comes to social media and its impact. Now, AI, I really honestly think AI levels the playing field for a lot of people. I think when we talk about tools and like, for instance, small business owners who maybe don't have a marketing department or don't have like know how to do certain taxes and things like that. Like, I do honestly think AI levels the playing field for a lot of people who maybe didn't necessarily have those skills to begin with. And so it gives them access. So that's my positive spiel. Yeah. And I mean, there's coding things, like, honestly, there's coding things that I don't know, and I just like quickly look it up on it, and ChatGPT, whatever, and it is quick. It
is quick.
It's helpful.
Yeah.
It's really, really helpful. So, yeah, I don't want to keep.
Alison, in your case.
Oh, I was just going to say, I'm ashamed to tell you how much inspiration I find on social media just for when I'm working on things. I mean, I use it all the time. My two daughters are here, and it's like pathetic. I'm like a 12-year-old girl sometimes looking for, but I use it in a very specific way, and I edit myself and I edit my way of using it. But I think it can be, obviously, to state the obvious, it can be very inspirational. I think AI, same thing as you do. I think that's going to help a lot of people in a lot of ways. I think we have to figure out how to use it. We just had a meeting with Google last week where they have that device or that tool that you can give us everything and we'll do the ads for you. And I was like, no. But I do think that there's times, and there is a time right now that we want to try to do an experiment with them, because I think there is one aspect of one of our marketing ideas that is going to benefit from it, because it'll do all our dirty work and it'll generate a lot of work that we don't need to. But there's a 98% of what we're doing that's way too sort of specific and touchy, and I would never ever allow it at this point. But it is interesting. We're in the middle of figuring it all out.
And Figma just got in trouble for their feature that was making the designs on your behalf, or training off of your. I don't remember the whole. It was design. Twitter was going crazy over it. But no, like there is like this line that we're drawing now, just like, hey, don't do my work for me. Like, just, still allow me to be involved in this process, but maybe take a few, like you said, the dirty work, like,
or just find like one place to experiment. But they literally wanted us to
take over
take the whole thing over.
Yeah.
We were like,
Yeah, and I think that's something we're going to see more and more of. Like, I think there is obviously this huge rise in AI, and I really do think it's going to be embedded in all aspects of our creativity. But equally, I think that's creating this like rise in authenticity and people wanting to make their own work. And I still seeing so many students and people who want to learn how to design typefaces from scratch, who want to paint, who want to make things by hand. So I don't think that's ever going to go away. And I think this rise in AI is just making that kind of desire stronger. And I did notice the Made by AI on Instagram, and I think that's really wonderful, especially for anything that's like news related. In the future, from a creative perspective, I do see that going away, because everything is essentially going to be touched by AI. So it's like almost saying like made with Photoshop or made with Adobe. Like at one point, it's just we're no longer going to need that. But I do think in this moment in transition, that's a really important way to distinguish that right now.
In this landscape, do you think the general quality of creativity and the creative output, with all you see, all the inspiration that you get, has been enhanced or lowered by technology? And with technology, I mean everything, not only AI, but like digital creation, social media. Like, how do you feel? What's the pulse that you're getting?
Not to sound like the old lady in the room, but I do see that it is a beast that you have to feed. You have to keep, the algorithm doesn't rotate your work unless it's new. So we do things at a quicker pace. We spend way less money, heart, soul, time to do things to feed the beast. So it's definitely have the outcome. What you're seeing in terms of what the world is seeing has to be altered. It just is altered. I don't know. You can't do like 50 versions of something in the same amount of time with the same amount of money. beautifully.
Right.
It's not possible.
One thing I have worried about just in using it is just like who else is also seeing this exact same result, you know? And so for myself, it's made me want to like dig into books and, you know, like I already do that in my own design process, but it's made me want to do it even more now because I want to like outsmart the AI and think about, okay, what are you not going to get? What is not on the internet that you're being trained on that I can find? And so it's made me just like very aware of like my surroundings and just like, oh, what are those little tidbits of things that I can pull inspiration from to just make my, like what I'm making even better and more inspiring for myself.
And Beatriz?
Well, I think at the end of the day, like we're all artists. I'm assuming many people here are as well. And so it's very rare to see anybody just use one output, especially like something from AI, and be happy with that. And I think
We don't know.
we don't know. That's true. Well, I'm not there yet. Maybe in a couple of years. So I still think we have a long way to go before we're going to get to that point. And I think your question originally was just like technology as a whole. I do think, yes, it has lowered the quality of work. Like how would it not? But to your point, Karla, like it has opened up the accessibility, and it is leveling the field for so many people where, you know, somebody who maybe university doesn't offer animation or motion can now learn how to do that, can learn type design, can learn all of these different skill sets. And of course, if you're not going through a very intense program, the quality isn't going to be the same. But it does mean that we're getting so many more perspectives out in the design world, which I think is very, very valuable.
That is very interesting.
Yeah, I was working with a woman who had just come back from working in Bali, and she said they not a single person had gone to school there. They literally went on YouTube and taught themselves how to do everything. This little agency in Bali, they completely, nobody had taken a single like professional course. So that was interesting.
That is
She didn't
super
say how the work
interesting.
looked, but she said everything using AI and just like teaching themselves everything.
Wow.
And on the contrary, like there is this big debate that's right now is starting to open, which is like, okay, it seems that now everybody needs to be aware of how everything works, like technology-wise, like you need to be able to control the programs and know how to use AI and stuff. Isn't that causing other sorts of discrimination for people that are not so like good with technology or know so much about it? Like how can we, because right now we need to have this conversation before it steps in front of us, right? So how can we create a creative and tech environment that's inclusive and not letting people out because of their skills? Again, a difficult question.
Yeah, I think we've seen this time and time again as the world moves forward in terms of technology and we get smarter, there's always a group that is left behind. In some ways, like our society has functioned like this for a very, very long time. And I think that is by design a lot of times. And so we make things knowing that someone in middle America, maybe who doesn't have all the, I'm not saying people in middle America don't have all the things. Let me retract that statement. But you know what I'm saying? Like maybe someone who doesn't have all the access will continue to stay in that space. And so I think, personally, I think what it takes is just being very, very mindful of the things that we are putting out and pushing forward. I think that's why it's important for libraries to continue to be funded so that people have access to computers so they can use these AI tools and all that stuff. I think it should be free to use. There's certainly, probably amount of us who pay for OpenAI Premium or whatever AI service you subscribe to. But there's a vast amount of people in society who can't. And so those things should be available to people for free. And so I think there's like a ton of accessibility stuff that we have not even started to touch on yet as we introduce AI into our own into our own workflows and our lives in general. But yeah, I definitely think we need to be very, very aware of how even like small decisions can trickle down and intentionally leave people out.
And I think it also goes beyond awareness, but actually making effort. Like inclusion takes real effort. Sort of what you're all doing here today. Like maybe it's not, women necessarily that will be left out of the new technology or AI, and maybe it will be people from an older generation or people who don't have as much access to the internet. But I think it goes beyond just acknowledging that, but really finding ways to bring people in. So like holding workshops, allowing classes to be accessible, making online resources. I think it's going to take a lot of real effort to hopefully get us all there.
Yeah, and I think we have to demand it of the tech companies. I mean, they have the money to do it, and we have to kind of put it out there and make it their responsibility as well.
That would be nice.
I'll call somebody.
That would be nice. Definitely. But again, like, we have all these discussions and these challenges right now happening, right? It feels like a moment in which we need to take decisions. How has the creative world changed from when, because digital and AI probably is one of the big things, but how would you say it's changed the creative world since you went into it up till now? What's the biggest difference you've seen? And what do you think is going to be the challenge towards the future?
Big questions.
I love big questions.
Well, I think you brought up something before. I think time is like people don't have time to really, the beast needs to be fed frequently. So there's not time to spend thinking of brand new, completely innovative things. I think your desire to go in the book and like sort of it's outwitting what's on the internet, but it's also outwitting time and other people that are around you. I think it's a lot of things. But it's definitely changed. I mean, it's changed. Time has changed everything. I think access is bad in some ways because I think everything is mush in a lot of ways. I mean, and I'm starting with the negative, but I think everybody sees the same thing, and everybody is. It's just like travel. When you travel and you see the same companies all around the world, the internet and technology does that in a way. But I think there's so many amazing, imaginative, masterful, empowering things that it does too. So it's like two truths are true at the same time. I think there's a lot of good and there's a lot of bad, and we have to all figure out how to, for your own job, for your team, for yourself, figure out how to outwit it and challenge yourself in a way.
Yeah. There's also like the expectation, like especially on our industry, is that it'll be done quickly. Everything's going to be done quickly now. Designs, logo tomorrow, brand in a week, like moving fast on everything. And so I think that'll be the sad part of it because, I mean, granted, some clients may just go straight to AI and put in their little prompt and say, give me the new logo, a brand package, collateral, website, everything, and, do it for nothing. But, I mean, me personally, I don't know how you all feel. Like, I'm not really afraid that my job is going to go anywhere, anytime soon, because I think that you still have to be, pretty creative and pretty savvy to write really good prompts. But I do think that time aspect that you're hitting on there is definitely going to be a big deal, and the expectation to move instantly on things is you already started to see that. There's tons of like shops that are popping up now that turn around things very quickly using AI.
Yeah, and I think for me, it's not only time, but also this accessibility to technology. It's making the expectation that every designer is somewhat of a generalist, where it's like, oh, you should know how to animate and do all of these 100 other things. And as a generalist, it's like, I really do enjoy doing everything, but I also recognize that I will never be as good as somebody who really just specializes in one thing. And my favorite thing is to work with people who do specialize because they really create really beautiful work. And so it does kind of scare me in this rise of AI and technology where it's like, we can't all be generalists because then our work is all going to be mediocre. Like we need to have that pairing a really exceptional talent with somebody who could see the bigger vision. So yeah, ideally in the future, I would love to see people really hold on to that thing that makes their work so special.
And since you're talking about time, and there's this saying, right? Like, you need boredom to enhance your creativity. But I can't even remember the last time that I got bored. That was maybe when I was like 9. So, like, how do you actually do that? How do you nurture your creativity? Like, you work on this. Like, how do you even get bored at any moment? Do you have the time for that?
I don't have the time.
See?
Yeah, I can't remember being bored. I do sometimes force myself to. I'm a very easily distracted person too, so I think I really have to find ways to force myself to do things like early in the morning, or put myself in a room when nobody else is in the room with me. I have little tricks that I trick myself with that I think we all have to do to compensate for the lack of time to be bored.
Mm-hmm. Same. I can't remember the last time I was bored.
No, it's crazy. Like, we don't have the time to pause and like actually think about things. So that might be a big challenge that we need to face in the creative field. Like, in some years, like, we need to talk about that. Is there any other big challenge that you think that the creative field is going to have to face? I'd say climate, for example.
I also think time to mentor people and teach people and sit with people has gone out the window completely. I feel for people that are just getting out of school sometimes and starting. I can see people expect them to know. They think they're going to know every single program and know how to do everything, as well as know how to think and speak. And it's like, that doesn't work. It just like, I really feel bad sometimes for the students that we get because their expectations are not realistic.
Right.
Yeah, that face-to-face aspect is just gone.
Yeah.
Now, it has truly disappeared. I mean, that's just a byproduct of the pandemic, I think. But
then again, you were mentioning like the design practice is something that you need to do with people, right?
With
You
people.
need to be with the team.
Yeah, collaboration is like it's key. I miss it even. I'm fully remote, and I truly miss being in a room with people and just like, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? Like, or just putting stuff up on a board. Like, just that push and pull has always been so amazing. And I truly do miss that. But I do also feel for, people coming right out of school with the expectation to be able to jump right into, their career and know all those things. But those are things that we learned as we were going. You learned how to critique, how to give feedback.
Yeah.
Because you were
How to
in
take
a room.
feedback.
How to
Yeah,
take
to take
feedback,
it.
right? I think actually taking feedback is so crazy because, like, for me, like, it's always been like, it's never about me. It's about the work. Like, surely you're not talking about me when you, but like, I've noticed that it's different now. You have to kind of tiptoe. You got to like, remember,
so
I'm just
true.
talking about this font. I'm not talking about what you have on today. Like, it's just like there's like a connection that people have. And so even, giving feedback and doing critiques and design crits and stuff like that is like really different, really different now.
Well, imagine like studying and going into the workspace and then finding out that you're fully remote from the day one. Like, you don't have that kind of give and take that being with people gives you, right?
Yeah.
It must be difficult.
I
really hard.
find it to be hard.
When I first started, I worked for this woman. She was like, there were no women at her level, and she was like a ball buster and fabulous. And she said, I will take you around with me for 1 year. You don't have to speak. But she took me to like every CEO meeting and CMO meeting. But she literally, if I opened my mouth, she didn't want me to speak. So, but I literally learned so much from watching her. I mean, I learned what I wanted to do and what I never wanted to do. But it was a crazy like luxury that you would never have now if you just got out of school. Nobody would take you with them.
That was a master's program, definitely.
It was.
That's amazing. I would have loved to do that. Like, that's really
It took
cool.
the pressure off because you literally were learning from this person. You didn't have nobody was saying like, what do you think? Or she was like, I don't care what you think.
I mean, it's quite brutal, but it works. But maybe that's a good idea to mentor someone in that way, right? Maybe we need to take these things back, or
That's probably like a softer approach to it, but there's a lot more. But yeah, that is the part that's missing. Is just like, here, let me take your hand. Let's do this together. Like, watch me. This is how I navigate. This is how I've, walked these halls and done these things and spoken to these people, and this is how I got to this place. I do think a lot of that is missing from the design community in general. Definitely. Especially, like, I remember when I was going through university, we had Massimo Vignelli come and speak, and he was just asking us questions. And he asked me, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I was just like, I don't know, man. And I was just like so intimidated. But just to be in that space, I felt amazing, because I was like, wow, I'm just sitting here talking to Massimo Vignelli, what? And so, like, our heroes, like, the Saul Basses, and like all the people have just kind of like faded. The people that were in our books have just kind of are gone. And it's just like, who do we have anymore? I mean, we have, thankfully, Paul Shears and but again, just.
And now we have all of you.
Well,
there you go.
I don't know if it's a bad thing to not have these, design heroes on a pedestal. Like, I almost think it's so much nicer that, like, we're all on the same level and we can all learn from each other. And at least that's how I approach when I teach classes, where I'm like really learning as much as I can from my students, as hopefully they are learning from me. And I do think that, again, with this rise in technology, it is creating this hunger in all of us to find more human connection. So I really do admire, like, especially the students who reach out and to want to seek that mentorship. But if not, like you mentioned, Massimo Vignelli, I'm a huge Massimo Vignelli fan, number one fangirl. And I just think, like, that would have never been a possibility for me in college to hear him speak. But maybe if his talk was recorded on YouTube or something, or a podcast, like, I would be listening to that from Metro Detroit, and I would be, eating that up. So I do think that there's a way where technology can still help us connect and create mentorship, even for people who might not have all the same opportunities.
Absolutely.
That is very true. Last question, and then I'll open the round of questions to all of you, or thoughts, whatever you want to share. As we try to create role models and gather wisdom, I always like to make this last question, which is the best advice you've been given, and who gave it to you? The one that you followed or that stuck with you?
So for many years, I worked with this insanely talented, charismatic madman, and every day you were either brilliant or like terrible. And it was like every other day. Do you know what I mean? You never knew where you were. And he did it to himself. He did that to himself. And so he then did it to everybody that was on the team. And this woman pulled me aside and she said, it doesn't have to be like this. And I was like, what? She said, you could actually go into work every day and it could be like, I'm a like master shoemaker. I'm making Gucci shoes and I'm making them beautifully to the best of my ability every day. And go in and it's like even, and you try really hard and you do your very best and you're passionate, and you go home at night and you feel good about everything. And I was like, oh, and that was actually the best advice that like somebody ever gave me, because I literally had started, he was my very first partner, and then he was much older than me and went to another company and he took me with him. And I literally thought that was the only way you could do it, was like this every day. So that was somebody just pulling me aside quietly, saying it to me. And I was like, it took me like 3 weeks for it to like actually sink in what she had said, but I've kind of followed her mantra, just like go in, you're a craftsman, make your shoes, do the best you can, and then go home at night.
You don't need to be brilliant or not.
So
that is a very good one.
Yeah, I was glad. I was very thankful to her.
Karla, and you, Kate?
I don't have words, but I just have actions. Like early in my career, there was an art director who just said, it's actually similar to you, but just without all the you can't speak titles. But actually just started taking me to meetings and saying, like, you want to do this project? You want to work on this project with me? And it meant the world to me, because Otherwise, I was just doing production work, sitting in a room, cutting boards with an X-Acto knife to be perfect for pitches. But my craft got really great when I was there. But that gesture alone changed my career, because that was also what I would do when I got to other places. I would find someone who was looking for opportunities, and I would just be like, yo, come on, let's do this together. Like, do you want to work on this project with me? I would really love your thoughts, your opinions, your feedback. But so anyway,
that is lovely.
A gesture.
I don't want to repeat myself because I think I already said this on the podcast, but it's still, so I'll say it again. But a former creative director of mine, JC, at the time I was working on a typeface, and it was just getting rejected everywhere. Nobody liked it. And he was just like, what are you waiting for? You should just release it yourself, put your work out there, not wait for other people's approval. And that was a big mindset shift for me. And I still apply that to a lot of my work. And it has really paid off, where I'm like, okay, I'm just going to make this creative coding sketch that nobody asked for, nobody wants. And in the future, it does, a client will want it. And it has happened. Or I'm just going to really focus on AR. And nobody cared 5 years ago. And now people are interested. So I think, just releasing your work out there and making opportunities for yourself and your future self.
But so thank you very much, Alison, Karla, and Beatriz. Thank you very much for being part of this. It was amazing. And it was an honor to listen to all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
And of course, thanks to Automattic for supporting this project. Thanks to Vanessa and Tino and all the team for making this possible and making it so beautifully. And thanks to all of you for coming. This is a huge day for us because, again, we come from a lot of kilometers. I know you don't use that measure here, but away. Barcelona is far away from here, so this is a great, great day for us. It's very special. Now we will head into our 5th season, and let's see what happens. I think there's many big things coming. So thank you very much, and until the next time, as we always say, stay safe and fight the patriarchy. Thank you very much.